And so, to prevent Alzheimer's, we need sunshine every day. To keep well hydrated, and to help with hydration, we have the whole salt before every glass of water, just a tiny little crystal. To prevent Alzheimer's, we make sure we go to bed early. And I showed you in the last lecture how you can rewire your brain. One lady said, "To bed at midnight every night, and I know that if I lay down at 9 o'clock." And today we're diving into an essential topic: how to support your brain health. Naturally, but did you know that the foods and herbs you consume daily can make a world of difference? In this session, remedies and dietary choices that can help protect your brain, boost your memory, and even reduce the risk of cognitive decline. Let's explore how to keep your mind sharp and healthy the way nature intended. And I'm going to draw it again. And we're looking at the prefrontal cortex. And I'm sure you remember that the prefrontal cortex has 4 functions. And these 4 functions basically go down when someone has Alzheimer's. So when someone has Alzheimer's, how's their intellect? It's not very good, is it? Reasoning powers? Not very good. Judgment? Terrible. As you can see, that when someone has Alzheimer's, brain that is directly affected is the prefrontal cortex. And because the intellect and reason and judgment are gone, the decisions are terrible. In fact, I had people come to me saying, "I woke up in the middle of the night. My wife was gone. I went outside, main road with no clothes on." Another man said, "I woke up, my wife wasn't there. Door's yard taking their clothes off the clothesline and putting them on strange things. Their reason, their intellect, and their judgment is not working." So the million-dollar question is, why? Because Proverbs 26:2 states that the curse causeless shall not come. It's Old English. It basically means no problem, no depression, no Alzheimer's. Happens without a cause. There is always a cause. And in the little book, I love that formula. She says, sickness, the cause should be ascertained. Page in the chapter. The physician, cause should be ascertained. So how do you ascertain the cause? There's one way to ascertain the cause, and that is the history. The history. And we are what we are because of our history. So you have a clear look at the exposure to chemicals. So we're going to flip backwards and forwards here. So we'll look at the sustain me principles, because the sustain me principles directly affect the functioning of the brain. The brain and the eyes are connected. In fact, the eyes are an extension of our brain. And this is where sunshine is very important to the brain. It needs sunshine. The brain needs sunshine, and it gets it through the eyes. Water. Our brain is a hydroelectric system. Sleep. We're going to have a look at 9:30 tomorrow morning. All the processes that happen while we sleep. It tonight in its relation to Alzheimer's. Trusting God, anxiety, depression, which is really a lack of trusting God, can all contribute. Abstain. There are many things that are damaging the nerve cells in the area of chemicals. Environmental poisons, especially mercury, moles, all having an effect to interfere with brain function. Inhale. Through our nose. Nose purifies the air, warms the air. Mouth does not do that. Through our nose, we're getting more oxygen in the brain. Nutrition. Our brain needs peak nutrition because we need to supply the building materials of the brain. We need to supply the building materials of the neurotransmitters. We need to supply the fats that keep the cells supple and protect the myelin sheath, as we touched on in our last lecture. Moderation in all the good things. Some things can be great, but if you overdo them, harmful. Yes, the stomach can't digest at all, and it fogs the brain. Exercise increases the circulation of the blood to the brain. And speaking of exercise, let's dive a little deeper into why it's crucial for brain health. Regular movement boosts blood flow to the brain, which means more oxygen and nutrients are delivered to the cells. This not only enhances memory, but also supports the production of new neurons. A simple daily walk or even light stretches can make a big difference. Another essential factor is the role of fats. Healthy fats, flax seeds and avocados provide the brain with its much-needed fuel. They also protect the myelin sheath, which keeps our nerve signals running smoothly. And don't forget herbs like rosemary. Its compounds may improve memory and focus. Adding a pinch to your meals can make a tasty and healthful difference. Finally, don't overlook hydration. Thrives on water. Even slight dehydration can impair focus. So keep sipping and nourish your brain for the long haul. When we look at history, we use this as our guideline, and often we target that little area of stain. Has the person been exposed to anything that could damage the brain cells? Environmental poisons, toxic, heavy metals are there. So you investigate, and it's the history that will give you an idea. So in case of sickness, ascertain the cause. Unhealthful conditions changed. How do you know if a condition is unhealthful? Get out of the moldy house. I've had 2 men attend our program who got depression 6 months after moving into a moldy house. So how so? So now we need to go to our nerve cell. Here's our nerve cell. And here are our receiving stations. And our receiving stations, our dendrites, are the ones that pick up the neurotransmitters. They encapsulate them, send them down the arm, and then they go into the little boutons. These are the boutons, and the neurotransmitters flash across to the receiving station, the dendrites from the next nerve cell. So I'll show you how this happened. So here are the little neurotransmitters. They come in, they're sent down the arm into the little boutons, and then they released out from the boutons to the next nerve cells. That's basically how it happens. And those neurotransmitters can be traveling anywhere between 200 and shouldn't be read. 200, 200 and 200 miles an hour. And in a crisis, that's about 200 miles an hour. So when it says unhealthful conditions changed, say there is a moldy house, remember that when oxygen is present in the nerve cell, it's going to give us 36 units of energy. But when someone's breathing in moldy house, in mold from a moldy house, there's not much oxygen there. And that top pathway that has no oxygen, that only gives 2 units of energy. Our brain needs oxygen. Maybe the person is living underneath the electrical towers. And those electrical towers, there's 500 times the electromagnetic field that's usually on the planet. That's how much it's increased under the electrical towers. It used to be that houses weren't allowed to be built under those electrical towers. But if you noticed in some housing estates, they're there, and they're the cheapest house on the estate. Another one I have found is when there's been landfill, and there's been a lot of chemicals dumped, and then housing estates are built, and then you'll find that in every house there's sicknesses. Some houses Alzheimer's, some houses depression, some houses cancer, some houses what they call autoimmune diseases, some houses you see arthritis, in different ways. That's why you can never be absolute on the cause. There are some common causes. In every case, unhealthful conditions changed, wrong habits corrected. How do you know what the wrong habits are? You go through those laws of health. You're drinking adequate water. Are you getting sunshine every day? Bed early? What sort of food are you eating? Ascertain whether habits need to be changed. And then nature is to be assisted. And we're going to have a look at this bit, and we're going to have a look at what can be taken to assist in the treatment of Alzheimer's, and also the prevention. So you always look at the history. Symptoms are your body saying, "Excuse me, do something." And as you try simple natural treatments, your body will say, "I like it." No, that's not doing much. You know how to adjust is you watch your body's response. And this is how we can be our own doctors. Yes, You might go to a specialist or a doctor or a naturopath or a functional doctor or a nutritionist or a herbalist and get their advice. But what do you do with that advice? You take it or leave it. And if it doesn't work, what's your body saying to you? We need to try something else because there's no one like you. That's why you're the doctor. Assisting the body naturally, we look at specific foods and herbs that support brain health and help prevent Alzheimer's. Turmeric is a standout. It contains curcumin, which has powerful anti-inflammatory properties and can cross the blood-brain barrier, protecting brain cells. Another excellent herb is rosemary, often called the herb of remembrance, known for improving memory and cognitive function. Then we have walnuts rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which nourish the brain and reduce inflammation. Leafy greens like spinach and kale are packed with antioxidants and folate, which support brain health and slow cognitive decline. In addition, hydration is crucial. Dehydration can impair brain function. Make water your go-to drink and include herbal teas like green tea, rich in brain-boosting catechins. By integrating these foods and habits, you create a supportive environment for your brain to thrive. The vacuum cleaner system that is the most active in the early part of the night, made up of glial cells. One of its roles is to clean up any little amyloid plaques that might start to surface in the early parts of the night. So going to bed early protects the brain against that happening. And so to prevent Alzheimer's, we need sunshine every day. We need to keep well hydrated. And to help with hydration, we have the whole salt before every glass of water. Just a tiny little crystal. To prevent Alzheimer's, we make sure we go to bed early. And I showed you in the last lecture how you can rewire your brain. One lady said, "I go to bed at midnight every night, and I know that if I lay down at 9 o'clock, I'm not going to sleep." So you know what she did? At 11:30. 2 weeks later, she started to go at 11. 2 weeks later, she started to go to bed at 10:30. She started to go to bed at 10. And little by little, her brain back into sleep. But I'll show you in more detail tomorrow. Abstain. If you stop cholesterol-lowering medications tonight, tomorrow you will have a side effect. Your memory will return. It's one of the side effects, memory loss. There is absolutely no danger in stopping the cholesterol-lowering medications immediately. In my book, Sustain Me, I've got a chapter, and at the end of that chapter, I list all the books, the Great Cholesterol Lie, the Great Cholesterol Hoax, Great Cholesterol Myth. I'm not a doctor, but they've all been written by doctors and specialists that are blowing the whistle on it. That's why we need to know for ourselves. That's why God gave us this brain, this prefrontal cortex, judgment, so that every decision we make be made according to that. Because our decisions determine our destiny. So there are some things that absolutely must stop. If you're a coffee drinker, my suggestion is, start easing off it. Ease off it. Little by little by little. Book called Caffeine Blues, and his subtitles are Become Aware to America's #1 Drug. That's what he calls it. When a person has a cup of coffee, it's like they've created a crisis in the body. That's why they like it. Just makes me feel good. That's right. People say to me, "Do you drink coffee?" The people suffer. Day 1 at our health retreats, people suffer more from caffeine with drinks, caffeine withdrawal we've had. People come off methamphetamines, heroin, methadone, cigarettes, marijuana, like the coffee drinker. I'm talking about short-term. Usually by the 3rd day, they're feeling very good. But those other addictions can take a little bit longer. That's how I know that the 2 days on juicing, the sweat and the steam baths every afternoon, is a great way to detox, to get off stimulants. So it's important to stop anything that's interfering with brain function. Wheat gets the blood sugar level up high, and then a corresponding dump. Sugar and wheat both do that, wheat. And our brain wants a steady of fuel. That's when your prefrontal cortex works well. But the quick highs producing the lows, then the highs again. No. Proper function of prefrontal cortex. Inhale through the nose so your brain cells get more oxygen. When you give the body full nutrition, it can prevent Alzheimer's. And what they're showing now is another contributing to Alzheimer's is lack of B vitamins. B vitamins are often called the brain vitamins. So where do we get our B vitamins? Our raw nuts and seeds are probably the highest source. Also some in your whole grains and legumes. So your B vitamins are your brain vitamins. That helps to protect your brain. What also helps protect the brain is fat. What's also important for the B vitamins to function is minerals. And you get your minerals in your dark green leafy vegetables and also your Celtic salt. So once again, we get to the 3 essential nutrients: fibers, proteins, and good fats. To further protect your brain and prevent Alzheimer's, let's talk about antioxidants. These are crucial for fighting oxidative stress, which can damage brain cells over time. Blueberries, often called brain berries, are loaded with antioxidants that help protect the brain from damage. Also, like almonds and sunflower seeds can help reduce the risk of cognitive decline. Omega-3 fatty acids are another key player found in foods like flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. These healthy fats support the structure of brain cells and reduce inflammation, which is often linked to memory problems. Don't forget about spices like cinnamon and cloves, which not only add flavor but are also rich in antioxidants. Lastly, physically and mentally is vital. Regular exercise improves circulation to the brain, and activities like puzzles or learning a new skill help keep your brain sharp. Small changes like improving your diet, staying active, and keeping your mind engaged can make a big difference. Remember, then cure you. If you found this helpful, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon for more empowering health tips. Take care of your brain and your body.